They don't, the way you teach your kids to share and be loving, they teach their kids to hate us. That's what they believe. No, we don't play by the same rules, so we'll never understand. You know, we have compassion, they have none. When they came over this building with the airplane, they gunned the engines. They wanted that plane to go through that building. They didn't take it. You heard they pushed it all the way up. Came right over the top of the firehouse. They gave it everything. And if you could watch the video in slow motion, the entire airplane is inside the building and then explodes. It doesn't hit the outside and blow up on the outside. The plane goes inside the building and then you see the explosion. So the entire force of the explosion is inside the building.
So why did the building collapse?
When you understand fire, fire expands steel. Heat expands, steel expands. The heat from the jet fuel expanded the steel began to push out. It can grow 10 feet in either direction from heat alone. As it expanded and it pushed out, it pushed the walls out, the floors started coming down. And then it was just a pancake effect, it was weight. When we were digging through here, just for a perspective, I was able to hold up my helmet, which is 9 inches tall. That was 3 stories worth of building. There were 3 floors in the size of 9 inches. So everything in those 3 floors was compacted down to 9 inches. Desks, people, computers, toilets, doors, everything that's in a building, an office building. Was within 9 inches was 3 floors. That's how much weight was coming down. That's it. That's the 9 inches, the height of the helmet. We did not find any people in their home. Everybody was pulled apart in pieces. We found 12,000 pieces of meat. Nobody was attacked.
That alone.
And that was our job. Because we had no fire trucks. We had no fire trucks, we had no neighborhood, we couldn't do anything. They tried to ask us if we wanted to leave, but we wanted to stay together. So they said, all right, we really don't have anything for you to do other than, and we would take the body parts and bring them to Burger King as more. We had to put a tag, put them in a bag, we had to put a tag on. We had a little computer that got a satellite grid from outer space and made the whole area a grid. And when you found that body part, you zap the tag and it tells you where that part was found. So that they could try to, it's actually a crime scene, so they have to put all this stuff together. So all this information, 24 hours a day of collecting body parts. And it was, I'd go to the site, they said, okay, we found something. You go there and you wait for them to dig it out, and the guy's leg sticking out of the pile, and they dig out the whole area, and it was just his leg. You know, there wasn't a body attached to it. They can just his leg. Go walking out and put it in a bag and bring it to the mall. This is
Together.
Of the 6 guys we're missing, we haven't found not one sign of one guy, but the other guys, they were able to bury something with DNA value that tells us it's theirs. Whether it be a body part or flesh or bones, something. One guy was on the 70th floor, there's nothing left of him, he was pulverized, he's turned to dust. So his ashes were just scattered throughout the city. We had to go to 343 funerals, and then a lot of those people, they had memorials first because they didn't have bodies to bury, but they wanted closure. And then when they found something, we had to go back to their funerals. So that took about 2 years to do all of that. 13 years. And I'm still here because I won't let them be. No. I wasn't ready to leave. Why should I leave now? Gotta be here for the neighborhood.
Yeah, for sure.
I walked out of that building without a scratch. The whole thing came down, I was untouched. 40 guys were killed immediately, and I walked out like I was never in there. That and maybe to Michigan. I have to pay the debt, you know? Like I still owe something. So that always worries me a little bit, especially flying.
Just to your right.
I'm sure any one of those guys would rather be here talking about it than be up on the wall.
So how do you look at life? How do you look at God?
Definitely. God and I have a relationship like this. You kidding me? After something like that, yeah. I walked out of there with a scratch. 110 stories of building collapsed around me, man. It wasn't touched. I actually had to sit down with scientists that studied the Hiroshima bomb to try to explain why I'm still here. Physics, I said, forget physics, it's God. You don't understand it. We don't understand how he works. But they said the force of the wind along. I was at the epicenter of 1/4 of a nuclear explosion. The wind should have ripped me apart, and somehow I walked away from it. And I said, don't try to. We don't understand how he works, so whatever it
You
is.
said you flew around like a piece of paper.
In pitch black darkness, I was in a collapsed revolving doorways. They collapse so that people can walk through on either side. It's stupid to have 4,000 people going around in a circle. So the doors collapse and there's an entranceway on both sides. When the building came down, that door spun. The wind that came through that lifted me off the ground. Now the lights went on because the building was collapsing. So I was in pitch black darkness, just flying around in the air. And then I landed on my knees. I scurried up against the wall and I just waited for that thing that was going to hit me and kill me. Just kind of trying to clench. Maybe I could take it. I let it in.
Appreciate you sharing your
Yes.
It enlightens people, it inspires people, keeps their memory alive.
Do you do this every day?
These guys, I know Sean Talon, who is only 11 months on this job, 27 years old, not married, and Jeffrey Olson were carrying a woman down. They made it to the 3rd floor and the building came down. 5 more minutes, they would have been out the door. They found their remains with the remains of a woman that had signs of a broken leg. So they believed that they were helping her down. They wouldn't leave her. And they would kill her. There's another guy there, Captain Corrigan. He was a retired captain out of this company, but worked in the World Trade Center. When we went in, he refused to leave. He reverted to being a fireman. He says, no, you're my guys. I'm not leaving you. He had every right to leave the building like everybody else did that day. He stayed. He was on the phone with his son when the building came down. His son heard his very last words alive. So every one of these guys and everybody that survived has got a story like mine that if they're willing to share it, every one of them I'm sure is amazing. There's going to be 1,000 guys that have 1,000 stories.
Wow.
Mono, you know where he's sitting and everything?
Is that okay to get a picture with you?
You all set?